The Academy Love Match, Monica Salas and Paul Ruditis. To my father and mother for letting me dream big and follow those dreams. Chapter 1. Thump pop, thump pop, thump pop. The rhythm was erratic. Most people couldn't dance to the beat. But Maya heart revealed in the sound. The music filled her body as she moved across the court, striking the ball and sending it back at her opponent. It hit the ground with the deep bass of a thump followed by the stringy twang of the pop as Donata Zayatova sent it back over the necks at her. Maya was exactly where she was supposed to be. There were occasional breaks in the rhythm when Maya or Donata hit the ball before it struck the ground. A few pop-pop valleys brought a staccato intensity to their play. Occasionally, silence followed a thump until the crowd broke out in a mixture of cheers and groans as the score increased. This wasn't Maya's first competition. She'd been playing the junior tennis circuit for years, but this game was different in so many ways. The Ontario Open was her first international competition. True, the venue was just over the border into Canada, but Maya had never even had a passport until she started at the academy. Getting that passport was one of the prerequisites for admission to the school. The Open was also her first tournament since deciding to go pro. Playing with professional status meant she be ranked against all the other female tennis players on the circuit. She could now sell her idol's peers. She could also win some serious bank if she took this all the way. Out. Maya glared at the line umpire. He was right, of course. She couldn't challenge the sell. But he didn't have to sound so happy about it. Maya didn't accept anyone on the court or in the crowd to be on her side. She was just some 16-year-old nobody playing way out of her league. Donata Zayatova was the star. The phenom had been breaking records since Maya first picked up a racket. But Donata had started getting noticed at 16 too. It still amazed Maya to think she was on the same court as someone she'd been a fan of for years. Never mind the fact that she was holding her own. More than holding her own, actually. She could win this. Maya could win this. Sure, she was behind a point, but this was the first time Maya actually believed she had a chance. She'd been too shocked at making it into the semi-final to entertain the thought that she might actually win. Focus, Maya. She warned herself as Donata prepared to serve. It was finally match point. The score had been tight for what felt like forever. If Donata scored, she'd win. Maya had to make sure that didn't happen. Then she needed to score 3 times to tie it again and then advance. It would be difficult, but not impossible. All she needed was a rally. Pop, thump, pop, serve, bounce, return. Maya's body ran on instinct. All thought suspended as her reflexes kicked in. 2 months of training at the academy had brought her to a level of play she'd never experienced before. The extra work she'd been putting it on her own strengthened her game. She'd been completely free of distractions the past 2 weeks. No drama, no diversions, no guys. If she could hold on, she'd advance to the finals. She'd take on Nicole King. Thump pop, thump pop, thump pop, with thump. Inches. Maya swung her racket and missed by inches. The ball hit the ground and bounced toward the back wall. In. Maya's knees nearly gave out. The energy drained from her body. She lost. She'd come so close, but that was it. The tournament was over for her. Time to pack up and go back to the academy, where she'd start her training over again. Maya walked through the net to meet Donata. The court seemed much longer than it had during the match. Her legs were heavier now than when she was running all over the clay. For the first time in the tournament, Maya felt totally alone. No one had come to see her play. Her parents couldn't afford the airfare, hotel, and tournament tickets. Her friends couldn't make the trip. The only person in the stadium who even knew her was Nicole. Having her there to witness Maya's failure was even worse than enduring it by herself. Maya had to put all that aside. People were taking pictures, she needed to smile. It had to be genuine. The last thing she wanted was a shot of her with a scowl on her face going viral. It was time to suck it up and be gracious in defeat. She reached a hand over to net to Donata. Congratulations! Donata yelled over the cheers and over Maya. That was a great game. You really gave me a run for it there. Thanks. We certainly gave them a show. We did. Maya wasn't used to this "we" stuff. Most of her tournaments ended with a quick handshake. Then the victor smiled for the crowd while the loser skulked off in defeat. Donata refused to let go of Maya's hands as they posed together for the cameras with the net between them. Look at the clock, Donata said over the crowd that was still cheering. Maya glanced at the scoreboard and did a double take. The game had lasted almost 4 hours. 4 hours! No wonder her legs felt like concrete. Maya knew they'd been running long when she checked the clock between sets, but 4 hours was an incredible marathon of a women's match. Now Maya understood why Donata wouldn't let her leave. They had put on a show. Once the cheers started to die down, VIPs in the expensive suites descended on the court. Donata held on to Maya's hand even tighter, pulling her toward the exit. Time to go, Donata said. But I think they won't. Donata shook her head, cutting Maya off. Always leave wanting more. Donata raised a hand to wave to the crowd as they walked off the court. Maya did the same, even though she wanted to stay and bask in the applause. People were calling out her name. People knew her name. Would anyone ever leave that? Pausing at the exit, Donata turned to face the crowd one last time. Maya did the same. The tennis star must have seen the disappointment in Maya's eyes as they both smiled and waved. Don't worry, Donata said. It's not over. There's still the press conference. Press conference? Maya was so glad she'd listened to Renee. She'd spent so much of her time over the past 2 weeks preparing her game for the Open that she hadn't thought for a second about her look. Thankfully, her friend had that covered. Hope you don't mind. I picked up a few things from the pro shop. That's what Renee had said as they breezed into Watson 26, Maya's dorm room, the day before she left for the tournament. Few things was the biggest understatement Maya had ever heard in her life. Renee had been loaded down with plastic bags with the Academy Pro Shop logo emblazoned on them. The bags were filled with outfits for every day of the competition, as well as things to wear off the court. All charged to Renee's parents. Credit cards. Maya had thought her, of course, at the time she never imagined she'd be playing through most of the tournament. She also didn't like other people spending money on her. It only reminded her that she didn't have the money to spend on herself. But Renee had insisted, and she was difficult to fight when it came to fashion. You're stopping onto the world stage, Renee had said. You can't debut in some ratty old tennis skirt that was clearly bought before your last growth spurt. walking into the small reception room of the tennis club with rows of reporters watching her every step. Maya was glad she wore a brand new, perfectly fitted Robin's egg blue polo shirt with cream-lined Bermuda shorts. It was the right combination of casual and sporty for the event. Maya had never been in a press conference before, but she wasn't too nervous about it. Donata had won the match. The reporters would probably save all the questions for her. They just humored Maya for a few minutes before the tournament publicist announced that time was up and the real show was about to begin. Maya searched the room to see if anyone was looking at her like they wanted to know her story. It would be totally embarrassing if they sat up there in silence for her allotted time because no one cared about her. The reporters had their heads down, texting or talking on their phones. They seemed blaze above the whole thing. They'd probably been through dozens of this. Hundreds. Press conferences happen at every professional tournament. It gave the media some sound bites to fill out their stories. Nothing Maya said was going to be on TV, not even on the sports news channel. The Ontario Open wasn't a big enough event, no matter how big it was for Maya. The reporters' heads rose in unison as the publicist tapped her microphone and brought the room to order, opening the floor to questions. Maya was thrilled to see almost every hand rise. They weren't straining to get out of their seats, tumbling over one another to get a word out. But there was at least some interest in her. A woman who introduced herself as a writer for the sports news channel website got the first question. Maya, your match today was the longest women's match in the history of the Ontario Open. It was? Maya blurted out. She knew it had been a long game, but that was news. At least to her. The CNC writer smiled. It was, she confirmed. It beat the Mendel-Kunic match by 5 minutes. Did you think you had that in you to play at that level of intensity? Ask me tomorrow, Maya said, wondering herself how much her body was going to ache the next day. It caught her off guard when the reporters laughed at her comment. She'd made a joke, and they laughed. But seriously, Maya quickly added, I've been training for this for years, just like everyone else here. We've all spent endless hours on the court, so in that way I kind of hope I'd be prepared. On the other hand, I don't think anything can prepare you for this level of competition. And to play a match against one of my idols, Donata Zayacova, who could ever be prepared for something like that? The hands rose again. Everyone in the room had a question for Maya. Well, everyone but a grumpy-looking reporter in the front row. He was clearly listening, but he didn't seem all that engaged. The publicist called on a guy in the back of the room. What's your takeaway from the tournament? The reporter asked. How was it playing against your idol? I'm mostly glad I didn't go home the first day, Maya said. Having the chance to play against Donata is more than I could have asked to get out of this tournament. She's such a powerful competitor. I learned more on that court today than in any training session in my life. The conference continued, with Maya getting more and more comfortable with each question. At one point, Maya stopped being nervous and started talking like she was with friends. She could see herself doing this more often, a lot more often. Maya never forgot where she was, of course. She wasn't with friends. She was in a room full of reporters who liked to make stories out of nothing. She was careful to keep her comments focused on the game and praising her opponent. Maya even managed not to cringe visibly when Nicole King's name came up. All in all, the press conference wasn't nearly as horrible as she'd been dreading. In fact, it was kind of fun. By the time the publicists wrapped things up, Maya was surprised to see that they'd run over by 5 minutes, and people still had questions for her. Maya gave an apologetic smile, thanked the reporters, and threw them a wave as she was escorted to the exit at the back of the room. Before she even reached the door, she heard cameras clicking over Donata's entrance from the front. With all heads turned that way, Maya decided to hang back and watch a bit. It probably wasn't appropriate, but she didn't care. She wanted to hear what Donata had to say. This time, no one waited to be called to order as the reporters started throwing out questions before Donata even sat in the chair that Maya had just vacated. Now, she said. There's enough of me to go around. One at a time, please. Donata gave them a sly smile and called on the gruff-looking reporter in the front row who hadn't been interested in asking Maya any questions. Donata, the reporter said, your performance so far in this tournament has been your best since your win at the Australian Open over a year ago. Do you think today's victory will stop some of those articles about you being past your prime? The rudeness level of that question shocked Maya. It was bad enough that people had been writing that about Donata before the match, but to actually call it out to her face was tactless. Maya wasn't the only one to notice as people shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Donata's laugh broke the growing tension in the room. Oh, Maxie, I think you're in better position to answer that question. Will my performance today stop you from writing those articles? Her infectious smile had everyone in the room laughing along with her, including the obnoxious reporter, Maxie. And before you all decide that my showing today was because I had a weak opponent, let me stop you right there. Donata looked to the back of the room, flashing Maya a warm smile before turning her attention back to the press. Maya Hart is one of the most intense players I've gone up against since I first set foot on a court. She has a slice serve that draws you out to the doubles lines like I have never seen before. When you start up those boring stories again about my potential successor, you be sure to include this girl's name on your lists. It was an incredible endorsement. Reporters had been writing those boring stories about the next Donata Zayatova for years, but this was the first time the world-famous pro had actually commented of any of it. Maya wanted to run up to the front to thank Donata. She didn't care if it stopped the press conference. It was the single best thing anyone had ever said about her ever. Maya must have looked like she was about a half second from making that run up to the dais, because the publicist's assistant politely, yet firmly, pulled her out of the room with an offer of something almost as exciting as Donata's endorsement. Maya had to force herself to stop replaying the press conference over in her mind. She'd drive herself crazy, second-guessing her answers and wondering what else Donata might be saying about her right at that moment. There was no point going over it all, since nothing could be done about it now. Instead, she focused on more important things, like calling her parents. The publicity assistant had been kind enough to let Maya use the phone in his boss's office. Maya had wanted to stick around to talk to Donata after the press conference, but she was told that the tennis star had to rush to some one-on-one interviews. The trade-off was that Maya finally had the chance to call home. Not having an international calling plan on her cell phone meant that Maya hadn't been able to speak with any friends or family since she arrived for the tournament. Toronto was about 1,000 miles closer to Syracuse than she was when she was at school in Florida, but she couldn't afford to make a simple call home because of the invisible line separating the United States from Canada. None of that mattered now that she had an actual phone tied to someone else's bill. She dialed the familiar number that she'd learned in kindergarten. It was one of the few numbers she had memorized without having to look it up on her phone. Maya, her mom's voice yelled as soon as she picked up. Maya looked down at the unfamiliar phone on the desk. Mom, how did you know it was me? How many other people would be calling from a Canadian area code? Oh, yeah, right. Maya gave herself a mental slap in the head. Guess what? You and Donata Zayacova had the longest women's match in the history of the Ontario Open. Maya looked down at the phone again. Caller ID couldn't possibly have told her all that. I've been following the tournament online, her mom explained. You made the front page of the sports news channel website. Well, only Donata's mentioned on the front page, but you are in the article that follows after the jump. Maya hadn't even had a chance to see what people were writing about her. Like the surprise press conference, Maya hadn't actually thought anyone would be writing about her. Maya's mom relayed the highlights of the articles she'd read so far. It was only basic information on the game, since the reporters and bloggers from the press conference hadn't started to post their stories yet. Even before Donata complimented Maya, people had already been touting her as the next big thing. After 10 minutes of catching up, Maya heard her father's voice in the background trying to interrupt. Her mom reluctantly said her goodbye and handed over the phone. Hey there, Ace. Dad, Maya practically yelled into the phone. You would have loved it. Donata Zayacova knows my name. Of course she does, he replied. Pretty soon everyone will. Maya's dad was even prouder than her mom, if that was possible. She'd really won the prize when it came to supportive parents. Maya suspected that there weren't many others who would let their teenage daughter move to another state to pursue her dream and travel the globe with only minimal adult supervision. Tell me all about the tournament from the start, her dad said. You are calling on a tennis club phone, right? Yes, Maya said. We've got ours. Maya would never let the call go that long. She already felt guilty for using the phone at all, but that couldn't compete with the excitement of sharing this moment with her parents. No other loss in her lifetime had felt like such a win. As the conversation continued, Maya began to notice that her father's voice sounded strained. He did his best to cover it up, but Maya had heard it before. Dad, she said tentatively, did you hurt your back again? There was a pause. It's nothing, Maya. Suddenly she hated being so far from home. She could imagine him laid out on the couch, while her mom did everything around the house without any help. How bad? She asked. Not like last time, he said. I just sometimes forget I can't lift those bags of grass like I used to. So tell me, what's the price for making it to the semi-final? Maya wasn't ready to change the subject, but she knew her father was done talking about it. Enough money that I can actually pay you back for the tournament fees, plane ticket, hotel room, and everything else I've paid on the emergency credit card since I signed up for this thing, and maybe have enough left over to buy a meal on the plane home. Oh, he said. The word only had 2 letters in it, but it was filled with disappointment. Not in Maya, naturally, but something. Maybe he hadn't changed the conversation. With his back hurting, he'd leave to subcontract lawn-mowing jobs out to his friends and competitors. Money would be even tighter than usual. The little amount that Maya would clear after taxes for being in this tournament wasn't nearly enough to help out. Only the winner, gets the big cash prize, Maya said, answering the unspoken question. At least tell me you get an ugly trophy to go with the other horrible awards in your bedroom here, her dad said. They had a running joke about the tacky trophies she'd collected throughout her junior career. You really need to start decorating that dorm room of yours. Sorry to disappoint you, but no. Maybe we should ship some down to you, he suggested. I'm sure your friends would love to see the Syracuse Tennis Star Trophy. Don't you dare? She shouted into the phone. It was the tackiest award ever created. A tennis ball with eyes and a mouth glued on it was mounted on a pair of copper legs with copper arms holding a tennis racket. It was supposed to look like a cute animated character, but the way the eyes were slightly skewed made it more demonic than adorable. For years, Maya and her dad had been trading it back and forth, hiding it in each other's bedrooms, leaving a little nightmarish surprise for the other to find. No, 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 he said. I know how much you must miss it. I'll be sure to ship it ground so it takes a while to get there. Maybe they even lose it in transit, Maya joked. We can hope. The two of them laughed some more before Maya finally said goodbye and hung up the phone. She tried not to worry too much about the money situation, since her scholarship covered schools and incidentals, but it was hard not to be concerned standing there in the clothes her friend had bought for her. Like it or not, image was an important part of the sports world, and image didn't come cheap. Chapter 2. It killed Maya to be watching the match between Donata Zayatsova and Nicole King. Sitting in the stands was for the spectators, not the players. She wanted to be on that court. If only she hadn't blown her chance the day before. No matter how many people congratulated Maya on her stellar performance, it didn't change the facts. She hadn't advanced to the final. She was a spectator like everyone else. But she and everyone else were getting one heck of a game. Donata ran Nicole all over the court. Honestly, they were both all over the place, but Maya liked to think that Donata had the upper hand. It made for a better story if Maya managed to fight off the eventual winner of the tournament for almost 4 hours. And watching Nicole go down hard would make Maya's own loss sting a bit less. Maya still wasn't sure what she'd done to get on Nicole's bad side, or if Nicole even had a good side. Sure, Maya had dinged Nicole's new car shortly after showing up at the top-level sports academy, but Nicole had just waved that off like it was nothing. Did she feel threatened? Maya hadn't done anything that could possibly concern a player at Nicole's rank. Not back then, at least. Now Maya worried that her performance at the Open just put a bigger target on her back. As much as Maya wanted to be in the final, that probably would have sent Nicole over the edge. Maya wouldn't have stood a chance against her yet. She needed more training, but they'd have their day in the future. Maya and most, but not all, of the press were already looking forward to it. News articles coming out of the tournament were already calling Maya someone to watch, using words like impressive and powerful, and her personal favorite phrase, future phenom. Donata was pretty phenomenal herself in the final, while Maya still acted from the game a day earlier. That was nothing new. Playing through pain was all part of the life. But playing with Donata's skill was something Maya only imagined before she got to the academy. Now it was expected of her. At times it was exciting, but more often it was terrifying. "Nicole's not looking that good, is she?" A male voice said behind Maya, pulling her from her thoughts. The owner of the voice was insane. Much as Maya hated to admit it, Nicole was playing a perfect game. "No," a woman's voice agreed. "This match should have been over by now." Nicole was much better in Prague. "That was a match," the man agreed. Maya knew the tournament they were talking about. She'd seen clips online. Nicole looked as good here as she did there, better even. And of course, the man said, "Donata hasn't looked good since her win at the US Open in." When was that? 2 years. 2 years ago, he agreed, completely ignoring the fact that Donata had won the Australian Open since then. Frankly, if Nicole can't finish off someone whose career is on the decline, maybe she'd not worth the press she'd been getting. Maya wanted to turn around and give them an impromptu lesson about tennis. They didn't have a clue what they were saying. But she didn't want to draw any attention to herself, and she certainly didn't want to do it by defending Nicole King. Then again, the woman said, maybe Donata's making a comeback. That girl she played against yesterday did look pretty good. What was her name? Maya's ears perked up even more. They were talking about her, and it didn't sound negative. That Maya girl? Yeah, she could be one to watch. Now Maya really wanted to see who was talking about her, but she couldn't. It would be awkward and embarrassing. They'd see the huge smile spreading across her face and think she was a total egomaniac. She kept her eyes forward and focused on the court. The gameplay was intense right up to the final point that came when Nicole smashed an overhead shot right down the baseline. The stands exploded in a burst of cheers. Even Maya had to clap begrudgingly. Nicole had earned the applause. It was only right to join in. Besides, Maya didn't want anyone seeing her sitting there in silence. That would really give the people behind her something to talk about. The crowd outside the women's locker room was 10 deep. Everyone wanted a piece of Nicole and Donata. The tennis club's publicists and her staff desperately tried to herd the reporters into the press conference, but no one wanted to go. Nicole's reputation for off-the-cuff comments made this prime stocking area for a good quote about the game. Once she was settled into the press conference with her handlers around, she'd be less likely to blurt out one of her choice comments. A familiar, clipped British accent rose above most voices in the hall. Nicole's agent, Jordan Cromwell, was on crowd control, but she wasn't pushing the reporters anywhere. She entertained her own court of press, fearing of sound bites about Nicole's game. The comments were, oddly, more defensive than celebratory. Nicole hasn't had the chance to get much practice in with her packed schedule lately, Jordan said. We're planning on skipping Toronto entirely, but you all know how she hates to disappoint the fans. Maya was beginning to think she'd seen a different game than everyone else in the stadium. Why was everyone acting like Nicole didn't have one of the best games of her life? Was it that much of a surprise that Donata Zayacova was still a strong player? Maya glanced at her watch. She had to board the airport shuttle soon if she wanted to make it back to school on time. This was her last chance to catch Donata. If only she could get into the locker room. The tennis club's publicist and Nicole's agent were so busy with the press that they didn't notice Maya pushing her way through the crowd. That left the two security guards stationed at the door. She was prepared to tell them she'd forgotten something and beg them to let her slip in, but they both recognized her from the day before. The door was opened before she could even begin the lie. "Thanks," she said as she slipped inside. Even empty, the women's locker room seemed small. It was nothing like the palatial changing rooms at the academy. All the girls studying tennis could fit in those, along with the guys, the swimmers, and half the football players. Maya pushed two particular football players from her mind as she went about finding Donata. She'd managed to successfully keep those football players out of her thoughts for most of the tournament. No reason to start now. It wouldn't be too difficult to locate Donata if the small room. The main problem was avoiding Nicole. Slam. Problem solved. The slam came from 2 rows ahead, even though it made more sense that the loser of the match would be slamming lockers. That didn't seem Donata's style. That was a Nicole King signature slam. Maya cautiously stepped into the first row between the lockers, careful not to make a sound in case she'd been wrong about Nicole's location. She wasn't. Donata had the whole row to herself. She'd finished changing for the press conference and was sitting silently on the bench in a linen pantsuit. She was probably preparing herself mentally to deal with the media. The reporters were 10 times more intense than they'd been following the semi-final match. Maya didn't want to disturb her, but there wasn't time to wait. "Donata!" Maya barely spoke above a whisper. She also didn't want to alert Nicole that she was there. The way Donata's face lit up when she saw Maya was more than she ever could have expected. "Maya, I was worried I wouldn't get to see you again." Slam. Maya assumed that slam was meant for her, but Donata shrugged it off as she pat the bench for Maya to come sit beside her. "You really pat me through the paces yesterday. Thanks for that. It got me better prepared for today." As she said, Maya suspected that comment was intended for Nicole's ears as much as her own. "Donata, I don't think I had anything to do." Donata cut her off. "Nonsense, and call me Donna." "Everyone does." "Thank you." "No need to thank me," she said. "It's my name. Are you sticking around for the presser?" Maya checked the time on her cell phone. "I have to get back to school." "You go to the academy, right?" "Yes." Maya was surprised that Donna knew anything about her. "Did you go there?" "No," Donna said. "The academy wasn't what it is now back when I was your age, but I'm on the board of directors. Nice Reed likes to stack the board with people who can bring in donors." "That's right," Maya said. "I knew that." Big-name celebrities in all sports were part of the school board. Famous faces were useful when it came time for fundraising. "Truth be told, I haven't been by the school in a while," Donna admitted. "If you are any indication of the current crop of students, I should swing by more often." Maya blushed. "Thank you." "You have to stop doing that," Donna said. Maya looked down at herself. She wasn't doing anything. "Doing what?" "You need to learn how to take a compliment," Donna said. "It shouldn't always seem like a surprise." "Oh." Maya felt her face going red again. She couldn't help it. Getting a compliment from one of the top players in the world was a surprise. It would take some getting used to. Another top player in the game stuck her head around the corner locker. "Excuse me." Nicole's tone was more filled with anger than courtesy. "I told Jordan and that publicist woman that I did not want to be disturbed." Even though Nicole was looking right at Maya, it was Donata who replied, voice full of charm. "Oh, I'm so sorry. Was our private conversation disturbing you? The locker room is rather small, but Maya and I were just catching up. Hope you don't mind." "I do, actually." "Well, then I'm sorry again, but you look ready to me. If you'd like to go first, I'll happily wait until after you've spoken with the reporters." Maya sucked in her breath, waiting for Nicole to explode. Everyone knew the winner went second in post-match press conferences. That's just how it was done, but Nicole remained calm as she held up her makeup bag. "I still need to put on my game face." Donna was just as cool. "I thought your game face was always on." "Oh, it is," Nicole said, "but every now and then I like to freshen things up a bit. You should try it." "Some of us don't require any freshening up at all," Donna said. Maya felt like she was watching a rematch, but instead of tennis balls, they were throwing shade at each other. "You're on in 5 minutes," Nicole reminded her. "They won't start without me." Donna's smile did not falter. "I'll be ready before your time is up." Nicole walked away, letting out a half-awed annoyance as she went. The sound of her footsteps tapping on the locker room floor got softer as she put some distance between them. Donna's smile relaxed a bit as she focused back on Maya. Of course, the academy produces all kinds of students. "I'm pretty sure she was like that before she started there," Maya said. She could easily imagine a 5-year-old Nicole ruling the playground, deciding who got to swing on the swings and who did the passing. "So, what's next, Maya?" Donna asked. "Will you be at Skyborn Cup?" "I haven't decided yet," Maya said. The Skyborn Cup, named for the car company that sponsored it, was one of the signature events of the year. It was still a couple months away, but Maya wasn't sure she was ready for competition at that level. "You should seriously consider it," Donna said. "Everyone's going to be there. Aren't you part of everyone now, kiddo?" "I'll think about it." "Better decide soon. The deadline is coming up." Donna checked her watch. "You should sleep out the back. The reporters will be getting settled by now, but some stragglers may be sticking around outside. They might try to get you to talk about the final. That's fine with me if you want, but like I said yesterday, always leave 'em wanting more," Maya said. Donna smiled again and hugged her goodbye. Maya agreed with the advice, but in all honesty, she mainly wanted to avoid answering any more questions. She was tired of being on. The problem was her escape route took her right by the bathroom where Nicole was primping. Maya made her way to the back exit walking as lightly as she could, but her shoes betrayed her by clicking with every step. This was the downside of Rinnie's fashion advice. She'd be much more comfortable in sneakers than heels, quieter too. The water was running in one of the sinks in the bathroom area. Maya carefully peeked in the doorway as she passed, but stopped when she saw Nicole making herself up in the mirror. Her hand shook as they applied mascara. It was so bad that she had to hold on to the wrist of her right hand with her left as she guided the brush onto her eyelashes. Maya knew what it was like for her body to be weak following an intense match. Her legs were even sorer now than yesterday. But this was different. Something was wrong. Maya debated saying something to Nicole, but she never got the chance. Nicole caught her looking from the mirror. "Get out." The temptation to act like a concerned friend passed and Maya left. They weren't friends anymore. In truth, they never had been. Nicole had been manipulating Maya for weeks, but that was over, and Maya had learned from the experience. The academy was though, but it just made her taller. This tournament had proven as much. She'd made the right decision in staying at the school. Maya may not have won the Ontario Open, but people were talking about her like she did. More importantly, they were treating her like she did. Maya didn't need to stick around for the final press conference. She didn't need any additional interviews. She'd done what she'd come to do. She did more than she'd hoped to do, actually. Now it was time to go home. Funny how the academy was starting to feel like home. Chapter 3. The hug went on longer than the one Maya shared with her parents when they saw her off at the bus station when she first left for the academy. It was beginning to feel almost as long as her semi-final match. Maya had only been gone a week. Cleo was just away for a long weekend. But Renee held on to them like they'd just come back from an extended tour of duty. It was weird, but also kind of nice. Maya never had a friendship like this before. Renee finally let go, stepping back while smoothing out the wrinkles on her dress. "Don't you two ever leave me again." Cleo cracked her neck. She wasn't used to hugs like that either. "It's going to be hard to compete in future tournaments if we never leave school." "We'll host them all here," Renee said. "We have the space for it." Renee was right. The 600 acres of the academy grounds contained some of the best sports facilities in the world. Tennis courts made of clay, asphalt, grass and carpet, an Olympic-sized swimming pool, and 2 golf courses designed by the leading course architects were only the tip of the iceberg. But as much as the school was considered one of the premier institutions in sports training, Maya doubted the tennis, swim and golf associations would be willing to relocate all their events there. Nels Reed would love that, Maya said. The headmaster constantly worked to enhance the image of his school. Maya had been caught up in his drive for promotion. She'd only been at the school for a few months, but her face was already on the academy brochures. Everyone would come to compete against the 2 newest shining stars in tennis and golf. Renee dropped onto Cleo's bed. Her nose crinkled as she landed on the thin mattress with the squeaky springs. Renee came from a different life and a different side of campus. She wasn't used to slamming in Watson Hall like Maya and Cleo. She was getting better at hiding her discomfort in the bare bones room, though. "I'm no shining star," Cleo said. "At least you won your tournament," Maya said. "You won in the press." Renee opened up her laptop. "That's all that matters. Look at all those stories. I bookmarked them." Renee handed the computer over to Maya. The top of the line laptop was dressed in a designer sleeve that matched Renee's purple shoes. It was like her computer was just another accessory rather than an expensive piece of technology. Yes, Renee and Maya come from vastly different sides of campus. Several stories were bookmarked, but Maya didn't need to read any of them. Both the planes she'd taken had Wi-Fi, as well as the airport she stopped it for the brief layover. She'd spent the entire trip reading her own press. She would never admit that to her friends because she didn't want to be obnoxious about it, but all the stories had been very positive. Maya opened up a particularly effusive blog post and pretended to read it for the first time. "Oh, this is nice." But the best part is how they totally trashing Nicole. Cleo grabbed the computer. The pastel design clashed with her black leather jacket and shredded jeans with the artfully placed grey paint splatters. Check this out. Maya took the computer back. It was another article she'd already seen, written by Maxwell Lexington, or Maxie, as Donna had called him. It was about Nicole's disappointing struggle to win the final against a player she should have shut out of the game from the start. Maya didn't feel like celebrating over the article. Aside from the fact that it was mean, it was also just plain wrong. Maya had been there. Nicole played well. She was certainly better than the writer led anyone to believe. Was she really that bad? Renee asked with concern in her voice. Renee and Nicole had been friends and roommates since before Maya came to the academy. Technically, they were still friends, even though Renee didn't like all the stuff Nicole had put Maya through. No, actually, it was a good game. It's just... Maya was about to say something about Nicole's wrist, but decided against it. Gossip was a powerful weapon at the academy. If Nicole was hiding an injury, there were definitely people who would use that information to their benefit. Maya trusted that Cleo and Renee would keep any secret she told them in confidence, but she didn't want to run the risk. There was enough tension between her and Nicole. She didn't need to add more. Once it became clear that Maya wasn't going to finish her thought, Renee bounced up off the squeaky springs of Cleo's bed. She reached for the small pink box she'd brought with her. "I got something to celebrate your homecoming." Renee lifted the lid, unveiling a trio of red velvet cupcakes with fluffy white frosting. They're vegan velvet cupcakes from that new cafe by the villas. The healthiest cupcakes outside of California. Healthy cupcakes is an oxymoron, Cleo said, eyeing the small pastries skeptically. "Just try it," Rennie prompted. Cleo sneered at the cupcake as she lifted it out of the box. Maya was suspicious of them also, but she smiled politely as she took her own. It smelled okay and certainly looked and felt like a cupcake. But she was with Cleo on the idea of healthy cupcakes. What was the point? Renee had enough enthusiasm for all of them. She raised her cupcake into the air as if she was giving a toast. "To victory," she said, "whether or not you actually won." "To victory," Maya and Cleo echoed as they clinked their cupcakes together. Maya pulled out the wrapping and took a small, tentative bite. The burst of flavor on her tongue was immediate and intense. The vegan velvet cupcake was disgusting. The dry cake sat in her mouth like a stone. She was too afraid to swallow it and spread the horrifying taste through her body. Cleo spit her mouthful of cake into a tissue without bothering to hide what she was doing. She taken out half the cupcake in one bite and wasn't shy about retching from the taste. "Oh my God, that's awful." Cleo shoved the box of tissues in front of Maya. She didn't want to be rude to Renee, but she had to get that taste out of her mouth. Maya took a couple of tissues and deposited the slightly chewed bit of cupcake into them before smiling shyly at Renee. "Sorry." Renee shrugged it off, patting down her own cupcake. She hadn't bitten into it yet. "If I'm going to cheat on my diet, I'll wait for a tastier treat." Cleo finished chugging the energy drink she'd grabbed out of the tiny dorm fridge, then turned her attention to Renee's laptop. "Doesn't look like you saved any of my articles." Renee blushed. "Well, it's okay," Cleo said. "I already saw them." "Oh, Cleo." Maya had read them too. Even though Cleo had come in first at the Savannah Junior Golf Invitational, no one had written about her game. "It's not the first time people have commented on my look," Cleo said. "I get stares at all the time in class." Maya had stared the first time she met Cleo, but mainly because she thought her new roommate had committed a bloody murder. In truth, she'd just been coloring her red. That was several weeks and at least 3 different hair colors ago. Cleo now rocked purple highlights on one half of her head, while the other half was black, spiky hair growing back in. It had been completely shaved when Maya had met her. Combine that with the leather skirt and red tank top Cleo had worn during the Invitational, and it gave the blogger something to blog about. Cleo typed something into the browser and handed the laptop over to Maya and Rooney. "Grant Adams is the worst." She'd brought up a page titled "Adams Addresses the Ball." The headline of the top article read, "The Death of the Gentleman's Game." It was one of the stories Maya had read on the trip home, and it was horrible. Maya closed the computer. She couldn't bring herself to read again. It was all about how Cleo was disrespecting the sport by refusing to dress normal. As if a sport known for men wearing awful plaid pants knew anything about normal. "Honestly, though," Cleo said, "I kind of like it. Sports marketing is all about branding these days." Rennie agreed. "You could promote yourself as the death of the gentleman's game." Maya was horrified. "Rennie, what?" Rennie asked. "As long as they're talking about you, it doesn't matter what they're saying." Maya doubted that Nicole would agree, considering what was being said about her coming out of the Ontario Open. "Who is Grant Adams, anyway?" Maya asked. "He writes like he swallowed an etiquette guide from the 19th century. Is he for real?" Cleo shrugged. "More or less. He's like the most conservative voice in a conservative game. I always expected he'd hate me. No biggie." Cleo wasn't fooling Maya. There was no question the girl was strong, but being bullied online sucked no matter where you were. Renee didn't seem fooled either, because as soon as there was a lull in the conversation, she changed the subject. "Let's hit the underground." Maya picked up her history textbook. "I'd love to, but I have a ton of homework to catch up on." Cleo took the book out of Maya's hand and dropped it on her bed. "Maya, you just got back from a huge tournament." "It wasn't that huge." "Maya, you just got back from a mid-sized tournament," Cleo said. "Mancharas will let you slide for a couple days. These articles about the tournament are a get-out-of-homework-free card." "You haven't gone out in weeks," Rennie said. "I've been practicing," she insisted. "You've been avoiding," Rennie insisted right back. Maya didn't have to ask what her friend was talking about. She knew, and she didn't want to discuss it. "Look," Cleo said, "this isn't up for discussion. I've still got the taste of vegan velvet cupcake in my mouth. It's going to take some real food to get rid of it. Besides, I just won the Junior Invitational. There are some people whose faces I need to wrap my victory in. You're not going to deprive me of that, are you?" Maya was stuck. She had been avoiding places like the underground for the past few weeks. Basically, she'd stayed away from any place she might run into them. But Maya was tired of hanging in her dorm room when she wasn't on the court. She also didn't want to stop Cleo from having the fun she so totally deserved in light of her win. Part of her wanted to watch Cleo as she reveled in that victory. And part of her hoped she might run into the guys she'd been working so hard to avoid. Even though it was late on a Sunday night, Maya knew the underground would be packed. It was the best hangout on campus and nobody ventured off school grounds on the last night of the weekend because of early Monday morning training sessions. Everyone was going to be there, which meant they were going to be there. No doubt about it. Maya hadn't woke up the nerve to walk through the front door yet, and her friends were starting to notice. "How many shoes do you have down there?" Cleo asked. "It's sure taking a long time to tie them." Maya finally stood. "Sorry, just want to make sure everything is good and tight." "Ooh," Cleo said, nodding. She wasn't buying it. Maya couldn't hide behind her training any longer. The Ontario Open was over. Sure, the Skyborn Cup was coming up, and there would be another tournament after that. Tennis didn't have an off-season like other sports. But that wasn't the point. She couldn't hide from her life anymore, no matter how much it improved her game. Maya took a breath and started to cross the small parking lot with Cleo and Renee by her side. "I can do this," she said to no one in particular. "Of course you can," Renee replied. Cleo let out a snort of sarcasm. "Yes, I believe you can manage. Look out." A car horn blared. Tires screeched, and a cobalt blue Audi R8 swung into the parking spot Maya was about to cross in front of. "Hey!" she yelled, jumping back with her friends. It took all her control not to fall back on her butt. Her legs trained as she gave her muscles an even more intense workout than she'd had in the game. The driver's window went down and a perfectly manicured hand waved backward at them. "Sorry, wanted to get that spot before anyone else." Maya didn't recognize the car, but she knew the voice. Nicole's direct flight must have gotten in early. Nicole liked to celebrate her victories with a major purchase. This was the second car she'd bought in the little time that Maya had known her. She probably had to keep winning tournaments to have any money in her bank account. Maya wondered how it was possible that she had the time to buy it. She must have pre-ordered the car before the tournament and had it waiting for her when she got off the plane. "You like?" Nicole stepped out onto the asphalt in a slinky blue dress that matched the car's paint job. She was way overdressed for the underground. "Starting your fleet?" Cleo quipped. "I traded the Aston in," she said. "It hasn't been running right since it got that ding in the side panel." Maya rolled her eyes. She used to be embarrassed by that ding, which she had caused. But Nicole was being ridiculous. The barely noticeable flaw was minor cosmetic damage. On the other hand, Maya was glad that Nicole had not decided to sue. She could see the drama queen taking things to that level. "See you inside," Nicole said with a fake smile before turning on her silver heels and sauntering into the club. The three girls stood in the parking lot, unsure of whether to let loose with some snark or laugh. They just shook their heads in unison and followed. At least it would be easier for Maya to slip in unnoticed. Nicole always made a grand entrance, especially coming off a win. Nicole was already surrounded by the time they walked into the underground. Maya had been right. The place was packed. People were even sitting on the pool tables to make room. Everyone else seemed to be making his or her way over to Nicole to congratulate her. "Guess nobody here agrees with those articles about her win not being a real victory," Maya suggested. "Hey, A win is a win, Cleo said, especially when you have a chance to buddy up to that winner. Some girl standing by Nicole shouted, Maya, and Hitz turned her way. Maya didn't recognize the girl, but that didn't matter. Several of Nicole's acolytes peeled off, making their way to Maya. Hands reached out to high-five her as shouts and cheers of congratulations reached Maya. It felt good and weird, but mostly it was uncomfortable since Cleo was standing right next to her and she'd actually won the Invitational. Maya had no doubt where her sudden fame came from. Everyone followed Nicole King news. Maya was just caught up in her orbit. She felt better when some of the golf students pushed their way through the crowd to greet Cleo. Being the center of attention was unusual for Maya, which was probably why she was so focused on her friends. Once Cleo was taken care of, Maya noticed that Renee was busy flirting with some random guys. Maya didn't worry too much about her, though Renee was always the center of attention when guys were around. Strange hands continued to reach out to Maya and she made sure to connect with each one. She knew how it felt to be ignored when she was one of those hands. But making eye contact was a little too much. Who were these random people who didn't care about her a week ago? What did they want from her now? As the hands withdrew, Maya took in the rest of the club. She tried very hard to not look like she was searching for someone. Jake was at a small table in the corner with some girl Maya didn't know. Even sitting, the girl looked tall, like basketball player tall. But she could have been into any sport, really. Maya was tall too. Maybe that was Jake's type. Maya didn't want to be jealous. She was the one who had called it off between them. The breakup came as a result of Jake's actions, but Maya was the one who had made the decision. It was either a huge misunderstanding or, more likely, an evil plot. Jake had slept with Nicole. It came about after a lie Nicole had told him about Maya, but that wasn't the point. He gave up on Maya too easily. That made it easier for her to give up on him. Easier, but not easy. At least he wasn't one of the people coming over to congratulate her. He was so into his private conversation that he probably didn't even notice she was there. As much as Maya wanted to believe that Jake was giving her the space she needed, it was far more likely that he was just trying to get lucky. When Maya saw yet another set of fingers reaching for her out of the corner of her eye, she raised her hand, expecting another congratulatory slap. She didn't actually pay attention until the strong hand gently grasped hers and wouldn't let go. Wow, Travis! Unlike his brother, Travis Reed hadn't hesitated to reach out to her, literally and metaphorically. Congrats, Maya, Travis said. I saw the blogs. You're the talk of the tennis world. I didn't even win, she said. You won in the court of public opinion, Travis said. That's all that matters. Then he hugged her. It was the friendly kind of hug, nothing more, but it still made Maya uncomfortable. She wondered if she would have minded if the Reed brother hugging her had been Jake. Look, Travis, she said as he released her. Travis had a head up to stop her. That was just a hug, he said. Between friends. We can't be friends, right? Maya still wasn't sure how involved Travis had been in Nicole's scheme to get Jake into bed and wind up getting a part in a Hollywood movie out of it. To think there was even a scam for that kind of thing still made Maya's heart reel. Travis was a good guy. Too good at times, or too perfect, was more like it. Maya wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt, but she was still skeptical. At the same time, there was no reason they couldn't at least try to be friends while she figured him out. Well, maybe there was one. Maya looked over to the corner of the club again. Jake was gone. It bothered Maya how happy she was to see that the girl was still there. Maya, Travis asked. He'd have to be blind not to notice her looking away like that. Sure, she said tentatively. We can be friends. Great. He put a casual arm around her. As friends, I think we need a round of drinks to celebrate your not victory. Yeah, she said as they headed for the bar. To my not victory. Travis ordered cocktails for Maya and the girls. The underground specialized in non-alcoholic concoctions that were just as tasty but without the hangover after effects. Following a toast to the non-victory that was tastier than her earlier cupcake toast, Maya pulled Travis into a private conversation. I'm glad you came over, she said. That took some good knowing how things have been. I wanted to give you time, he said, and I hoped that with some distance you'd realize I wasn't part of Nicole's plan to break you and Jake up. Not a willing participant, at any rate. I'm sorry I put you in that position. I'm truly sorry that Nicole was able to use me to get to you. I know, Maya said, even though she still didn't know for sure. And thanks. I'm glad you came over to say that. It was brave. Travis looked unusually shy. Well, in the interest of honesty in our friendship, I should admit there is an ulterior motive. I have a message to deliver from Dad. It was never a good thing when Niles Reed had a message for her. He wants to see you in his office first thing tomorrow, Travis said. Didn't tell me why. Of course, the only thing worse than a message from Niles was a request for a face-to-face meeting. Once again, the academy was beginning to feel like home. Except this time, she was afraid of being grounded. Chapter 4. At her old school, Maya had only seen the principal when it was time for an assembly. Maybe she ran into the woman once or twice in the halls, but she'd never actually spoken with her. And she'd certainly never been called to the principal's office. Maya had only been at the academy for a few months, and she'd already lacked more face time with his principal than she had in all her schools combined since kindergarten. It probably wasn't right to think of Niles as the principal. He was more of a headmaster. Whatever the correct terminology, he was the head guy in charge, and it was never a good thing to be summoned to his office. On the bright side, she didn't have a security escort this time. That was an improvement. The door opened and Niles flashed her the smile that used to gleam with an extra CGI sparkle in toothpaste commercials. Maya. Hi, Mr. Reed, she said as he ushered her into his office. Maya still wasn't quite comfortable in there, no matter how plush the smooth leather chairs were. And they were pretty plush. Congratulations on your showing in Toronto, Niles said. It's impressive to see how much of an impact the Academy has had on your game. Maya blinked twice. That sounded a lot more like a compliment to himself and his school than it was to her and her accomplishments. Thanks? Nothing makes me happier than seeing a student making the most of her time with us, Niles added. To think how far you've come in such a short amount of time. I expect you'll be giving Miss King a run for her money soon enough. I'm just here to play, Maya said. She didn't want to give him any ammunition to use against her by letting on that she had issues with Nicole. Niles nodded. Yes, that's how we all start out, only thinking about the game. But I'm sure you've come to see by now how much work it takes to play these games. Maya honestly had no clue what he was talking about. Just look at my son. He puts in more effort than the average student. Not because he's my son, because he knows that's what it takes to succeed. Maya didn't have to ask which son he was talking about. Ness rarely brought up Jake as an example, unless it was a bad example. That was one of the things that drew her to Jake in the first place. Maya felt like she was the only one who saw him for who he really was instead of the guy his father made him out to be. Niles still had to drive his point home. Travis is there for the school every time I ask. Heck, he's there before I ask, leading tours for prospective students, mentoring younger classmates, standing in for me at events when I'm unavailable. Maya nodded along with the list of Travis' accomplishments. She already knew most of it. Travis worked his butt off. There was no doubt that he did it to make himself a better student athlete all around, but Niles was fooling himself if he didn't realize Travis did it mainly to please his father. With those things in mind, Niles continued, your school needs a favor. Finally, he'd come to the point. It must be a doozy of a favor, considering all the lead-up. Did he want her family to make some kind of donation? He knew better than anyone that she was at the academy on a scholarship. We have a new student, Nelly said. Someone you've already met. Diego? Maya had almost forgotten all about Diego and the whirlwind trip to Rio with Travis. So much had happened between then and now. It was weeks after Diego said he'd be ready to start at the school. But what could Niles want from her? Diego played soccer. Did he want her to give him a school tour? I'm hosting a small reception to welcome him tomorrow night, Niles continued. Just a few faculty members, the soccer coaches, nothing major. I was hoping to have a familiar face there for him. Would you be free to join us? That was it? That was what he'd called her to his office for? To invite her to a party? Sure, she said. Nate's mouth opened, but nothing came out. A brief look of surprise crossed his face before he regained his composure. He was smart enough to realize that Maya caught the expression, and it now hung between them like an unanswered question. I'm sorry, he said. I'm accustomed to negotiating these kinds of things with the students. With Nicole, it usually takes several rounds of offers and counter-offers before she agrees to help the school. I don't often get a yes on the first try from anyone who is not my son. It sounds like fun, Maya said. Actually, a staffy reception with the faculty sounded like the exact opposite of fun, but she looked forward to seeing Diego. It wasn't that long ago since she was new at the academy. She still remembered how overwhelmed she'd felt. It would have been nice to see a familiar face when she arrived. She also would have liked a small reception in her honor, and she was being completely honest. Kicked out again? Cleo sat curled up in a ball on the edge of the fountain outside of the administration building. Her eyes remained focused on the screen of her phone as Maya stood over her. You can't get a single that easily, Maya replied. You're stuck with me, Rumi. Cleo finally looked up. So what was it about? Did he bring you in for a meaningful conversation about his sons? Maya let that one go. He invited me to a party. No, seriously. Cleo read the look on Maya's face. Seriously? He wants you to go to a party? He couldn't just text you? I guess he wanted to make me feel obligated to go before he asked. That sounds like a read. Maya filled Cleo in on the invitation as they walked to class. Sounds boring, Cleo said. Yeah, but if the biggest favor the school is going to ask for is for me to attend a party. Cleo stopped on the walkway so suddenly that she nearly took out a skateboarder who'd been maneuvering to slip around them. What makes you think that's the only favor he's going to ask for? Maya, you are not even anybody yet and Nice wants stuff from you. I had to say this, but imagine what it's going to be like when you are at Nicole's level. But you're already at Nicole's level, Maya reminded her. You actually won your tournament. A junior tournament. Cleo reminded her right back. It's not about wins and losses. It's about being the whole package. Look at you. You're the package. I'm just me. Cleo. Don't get me wrong, Cleo quickly added. I like my particular package, but the school won't be trotting me out for any photo ops. Not the wicked witch of the green. Don't say that about yourself. I didn't. Grant Adams did. Cleo handed her phone to Maya. That stupid block was up on the screen. The headline of the latest post was of the exact line that Cleo just quoted. The article went downhill from there. Maya shut off the phone, as if making the blog disappear from the screen would take it off the internet. What has that guy not against you? Probably broke his heart to find out I was into girls and would never give him the time of day. Cleo, I'm into guys and I'd never give that jerk a second glance. He's probably some loser who lives in his mother's basement watching the Golf Channel all day. I was thinking he's locked away in the attic, Cleo said. Well, he's forced to be quiet when his parents have friends over so nobody knows he exists. No, they keep him in the doghouse. Where? Maya. Maya was horrified to think someone had overheard their conversation. She was even more horrified to turn and see that it was Nicole's agent. Jordan? Great. Nicole must have complained about Maya slipping into the locker room after the final. Jordan was probably there to tell her to stay away from her client. Isn't this for fortuitous, running into you here? The pleasant tone of Jordan's voice didn't sound like there was a warning on the horizon, but Maya kept her guard up. Cleo, meanwhile, had totally frozen in place, unable to speak. Her eyes backed out like she was excited to be in the presence of royalty. Are you looking for Nicole? Maya asked. It seemed unlikely since Nicole didn't have any morning classes. Jordan, of all people, would know something like that. No, Jordan said. Nicole isn't my only client on campus, you know. Maya hadn't known that actually, but it made sense. An agent as powerful as Jordan must have clients all over the world. I'm sorry we didn't have a chance to chat at the Open this weekend, Jordan continued. You played very well. Thank you. It got me thinking, actually, Jordan said. I'm always on the hunt for new talent. Call me sometime if you want to talk. A business card appeared in Jordan's hand, almost like magic. Just as suddenly, the card found its way into Maya's palm. Chat later? Jordan said in lieu of goodbye. Maya watched her walk off, as speechless as Cleo. What was that? Maya finally asked when she found her voice. Oh, Nothing much, Cleo said. Just one of the top agents in the business wants you to be her client. She punctuated her statement by slapping Maya on the arm. Oh, Maya rubbed the spot that was already turning pink. The golfer obviously didn't know her own strength. Oh, come on. She was just being nice. Maya, I've never met her, but Jordan Cromwell doesn't exactly have a reputation for nice. More like for being a barracuda. Maya slipped the card into her purse. She probably gives these cards out all the time. If she was really interested in me, she would have set up an appointment or something. She just ran into me. You're kidding, right? Cleo asked. Oh, wait, I forgot. You're still new. Maya had been at the school for a couple months, but Cleo was right. Most of the time Maya felt like she'd just stepped off the bus. Let me break it down for you, Cleo said. Jordan comes to the tennis courts. She's on the fields, on the pools, even stops by the greens from time to time. Occasionally you might see her in the admin building, but I have never ever caught a glimpse of her by the classroom buildings. Nels likes to keep the academics away from the business side of things. Most agents don't care about that, so you see them all over the place. But Jordan Cromwell respects the system. That's why she gets the first call about students to watch for. She doesn't want to mess that up by crossing the line. You think Nails called her about me? You really think she needed a call? You're the story out of Toronto, not Nicole. I can say what's going on behind the scenes, but I do not know one thing. Running into Jordan here was no accident. Maya pulled Jordan's business card back out of her purse. It was just a small piece of white card stuck with some writing on it and a company logo. Nothing special, and yet suddenly Maya felt like she was holding on to a golden ticket. Chapter 5. It was shaping up to be a week's worth of British entertainment for Maya. On Monday she'd gotten a golden ticket. By Tuesday evening she felt like she'd been transported into an old-time English drama. The Reed mansion was far more contemporary than a British estate, but to Maya, who grew up in a cramped two-bedroom house, it was as big as a castle. But that wasn't the reason she felt like they'd all been transported back in time. To make Diego feel welcome, Nels had suggested his guest greet to new student when the car they'd sent for him pulled up to the house. Maya was stuck shivering in the chilly night air along with some of her teachers and people she'd never met before waiting for the car to arrive. Surrounded by faculty and coaches, she was probably the only one who felt like part of the serving staff. Jake was nowhere to be seen, which was likely Neil's doing. He would never stake up tell his son that he wasn't invited. That's not the way Neils operated. He would just talk about the party around Jake until it became obvious that he wasn't getting an invitation. Then Jake would do the rest by making himself scarce. Maya didn't like that she knew so much about the inner workings of the Reed family, but in this case she didn't really mind the result. She wasn't ready to deal with both Reed brothers in such a public setting. Travis not being at the party was the real surprise. It was exactly the kind of thing Nails liked his favored son to be involved in. Maya wasn't exactly excited about seeing Travis, but they were trying to be friends. She could use a friend right now. Making small talk with adults she barely knew was not a skill she possessed. After what felt like an eternity, but was probably less than 5 minutes, a limousine pulled up the long driveway. It was a far cry from the bus that dropped Maya off outside of the academy, and probably total overkill for Diego. His life was less privileged than hers. Arriving in a limousine to a mansion with a group of semi-formal dressed people would have intimidated the heck out of her. The limo stopped at the foot of the stairs, and the driver got out and double-timed it to the rear passenger door. He opened the door with a flourish, and for a moment Maya felt like she should applaud. She wasn't the only one leaning forward, waiting for Diego to make his grand entrance. It all felt so forced and pointless, considering no one got out of the car. Maya wondered if Diego had slipped out of the limo on the ride up the nearly endless driveway. He might have taken one look at what was waiting for him and ditched. Maya wouldn't have blamed him, but the driver surely would have noticed. He wouldn't continue to stand there, awkwardly holding on to the door. Seconds stretched into minutes with no sign of Diego. The receiving line outside of the Reed estate wasn't exactly welcoming, but the Diego she'd met down in Rio didn't seem the type to be easily intimidated. He wouldn't possibly be afraid to come out, could he? Finally, she saw some movement inside the car. Everyone else must have seen it too. The shuffling feet stopped, and they all turned their attention back to the car. Travis had popped out of the door, solving that particular mystery. Of course, he'd gone to pick up Diego at the airport. The welcome carpet was probably rolled all the way across the city. Travis held up the one-moment finger to his father before disappearing back into the darkened interior. Nels remained stone-faced, as if he was used to this kind of thing. Maya considered suggesting that they should all wait inside, but she was too afraid to speak up. This group intimidated her, and they weren't even looking in her direction. Scratch that. One set of eyes had fallen on her. Nails. She could only assume it was his way of asking for help. Maya wasn't sure what she could do, but she reluctantly stepped forward and made her way to the limo. Now Maya had all eyes on her. If this was anything like what Diego felt inside the limo, she didn't blame him for staying in there. It was uncomfortable to the max. "Hello?" she tentatively asked as she peeked in the door. She was unprepared for what she saw inside. Instead of a frustrated Travis trying to coax a reluctant Diego out of the limo, she found them both playing a video game on the small TV in the back. Diego seemed completely unaware that anyone was waiting for him, but Travis' eyes pleaded with Maya to do something. "Mind if I come in?" she asked. Diego's eyes darted to her for a split second. "Maya, get in here. Grab that controller. Travis sucks at this game." Maya slipped into the car and took the controller from Travis. The back of the limo was roomy enough that they could probably host the party in there. They had games, music, and even a minibar. It was far more comfortable than the Reed estate. Maya took control of Travis' robot character. She didn't recognize the game and had no clue what she was supposed to do. "You do know people are waiting, right?" "Yep." Diego pounded on his controller as red laser beams filled the screen. "You're really bad at this." Maya tried mimicking his actions. Soon there were almost as many blue laser beams as red. "I've never played it before." "Me neither," Diego said, "but it was a long ride from the airport." "Diego." Maya threw a glance in Travis' direction. He just shrugged. "They'll wait." Diego said as he moved down a line of enemy robot soldiers. I'm worth the wait. Maya pat down her controller. This was not the same kid she'd met down in Rio. This was a Nicole King in the making, and Maya wasn't about to go down that path again. Yeah, well, I'm one of the people you've kept waiting, and I'm not waiting anymore. I'll be inside where it's warm and there's food. Diego's robot exploded and the screen went dark. Maya, hold on, he called after her as she opened the door. I'm sorry, I just don't want to go to this party. You think I do? Maya said. Welcome to the Academy. It was exactly the kind of thing Cleo would say, and it seemed to work. Diego followed her out of the cars as Travis brought up the rear. Ness greeted the three of them warmly, with the slightest uptick of a smile in her direction. Maya stared into her punch. The electric purple color of the drink didn't exist in nature. She suspected it was some kind of energy beverage from a company that had a special deal to force people to drink it all Academy functions. The only other options were wine, beer and water. She should have gone with the water. Maya tried to figure out the point of her being at the party as she gazed into the purple void. Sure, she'd gotten Diego out of the limousine, but Nails swooped him up immediately, introducing him to his new coaches. She hadn't talked to him since. She hadn't talked to Travis either. None of the faculty of coaches wanted to chat, which was fine by her. She was content letting herself be hypnotized by the ripples she made in her punch. You're not really drinking that? Travis asked as he took the purple concoction from her and abandoned it on an end table. Thank you, Maya said. I was dying over here. Never knew you were so popular with the faculty. I'm not, Travis said. They think if they cozy up to me, it will help them when they need something from Dad. That's horrible. Not really, Travis said. Comes in handy when I need some extra credit. Maya knew Travis well enough to realize he was joking. He would never exploit his relationship with his dad like that. Besides, his grades were good enough on their own. He didn't need an assist. Maya nodded toward the other side of the room. Looks like Diego is popular too. The soccer coaching staff had their new recruit surrounded. Diego looked about as bored as Travis had when the faculty had him cornered. Poor guy, Travis said. I can't imagine that's how he planned to spend his first night here. Better than my welcome to the Academy sucking in bass fumes, Maya admitted. Travis nodded. Yeah, that has to work on that. We have a big welcome thing in September, but so many students are added randomly throughout the year that we should do something special for them too. We're good about getting students to the school, but we need to work on what to do with them once they're here. We? Maya said. I didn't realize you work in administration. Travis' laugh had an edge to it. I grew up on this campus. I'm more a part of it than most of the staff. Is that what you want? Maya asked. To run this place one day? That's the plan, Travis said. I'll be a first-round draft pick, get onto a top team, have a stellar career, then retire and take over the rings from that. But is that what you want? She asked again. That's the plan, he repeated. A muscular hand came down on Maya's shoulder and a matching hand landed on Travis. Mind if I speak with the two of you for a moment? Ness asked. Before either of them could answer, Maya felt herself being gently steered out of the living room and into his private study. Nels closed the doors, cutting them off from the small party. Maya, I wanted to thank you for your help earlier getting Diego out of that limo, Nels said. It was nothing, Maya said. I think he was. Don't underestimate your skills at managing situations. That will come in handy as your career grows. Thank you, Maya said. She learned years ago that when others didn't want your opinion, a simple thank you, occasionally peppered into the conversation, kept it moving along. I was hoping to see those management skills in practice again, Nels said, at the Academy exposition. You want me to play at the expo? Maya asked. The Academy exposition was the talk of the campus. Every year, the Academy opened its doors to the public for a major exhibition in which the students played against celebrities who'd donated money to the school. To Maya, it didn't sound like much of a showcase. She'd have to hold back a lot if she played against some celeb who had never picked up a racket before. But that was beside the point. She'd get to meet celebrities. Her first Hollywood star encounter hadn't gone so well. She still had nightmares about her horrible movie audition with Peyton Smith. This was a chance to put it all behind her. You playing in the showcase goes without saying after this weekend, Nels said. But I'd help for something more. I'd like you and Travis to be student ambassadors. Absolutely, Travis said without hesitation. Thanks, Dad. Maya wasn't sure what he was asking. Ambassadors? You'd be the public faces on the event, he explained. Make sure everything is running smoothly. Handle any problems that come up. Maya wasn't afraid of work, but that sounded like a major undertaking. Managing all the celebrities and their egos, to say nothing of their own classmates. Don't worry, Maya, Travis said. The school publicity team is really in charge. They deal with all the big problems, with just the first line of defense. Any real issues you'll bring to me, Nels said, but I'm hoping for a pair of students who can minimize the need for me to be involved. That wasn't very reassuring. It sounded like he wanted Maya to be in charge while not giving her the power to do anything. Still, Niles had already made it clear that when the Academy asked something, it was not her place to say no. At least, not yet. Once she was a big star like Nicole, she'd be able to decline any request she wanted, even though she knew in the back of her mind that she never would. Okay, Maya said. Sounds fun. That's great, Niles said. Now that that's taken care of, you two go back to the party. I've got some work to wrap up in here, but I'll be out soon. Maya suspected that Niles was making an excuse to get away from the reception for a few minutes. She couldn't be the only one who was bored out of her mind. As soon as they were out of the office, Travis pulled Maya into a hug. Maya, this is awesome. Do you know how big a deal it is to be student ambassador? Truly, she had no idea. I mean, I expected Dad to ask me, but you only being here a couple months. Maya, you have arrived. Maya felt like she'd arrived before. She'd felt like a big shot when she was chosen to audition for that Peyton Smith movie. And see how that turned out. As they came out of their embrace, she was surprised to see Diego right beside them. I thought you two abandoned me, he said. No, Maya said. Niles needed to talk to us. Let me guess, Diego said. He wants you to make a toast in my honor just to make this whole thing more awkward and uncomfortable. No, Maya said. It wasn't about you at all, actually. Nels would never ask us to make some toast like we were welcoming royalty. That's his job. Travis' face scrunched up, which Maya noticed immediately. Travis, are you making a toast later? Just a short one, Travis said, welcoming Diego on behalf of the students. It's not like Dad asked me to prepare a speech. Doesn't matter, Diego said. I won't be here. It's my first night in the States. Let's get to be a party or a club opening or something we can go to. 360, Maya suggested, before she realized she'd spoken out loud. Ness would freak if they snuck out of the party. That was not a very ambassadorial behavior, but Renee had been talking about the club ever since Maya got back. Her friends were there right now. We can't go to that, Travis quickly said. We can't leave. But Diego was already on the stand of a party. What is 360? It's a club, she explained. This is the only night of the week the club is open to the underage crowd. A teeny bopper club doesn't sound that fun, Diego said. You've never been to an underage club here, Maya said. Not that she'd been to one either, unless she counted the underground, which she didn't. Okay, Maya, Diego said, show me the town. You can't go, Travis reminded him. This whole thing is in your honor. You mean you can't go, Diego corrected him. I can do what I want. As you pointed out, this thing is my honor, and I would be much more honored if my welcoming committee took me out of the town. What do you say, Maya? I don't think this is a good idea, she answered honestly. The fun ideas are never good, Diego said. You've served your time here. Now comes a reward. Maya looked over at the clumps of teachers and coaches circled around in quiet conversation. It was probably the exact opposite of what Rennie and Cleo were doing at the moment. If they stuck around at the reception any longer, they'd never make it to the club before it closed. It was a school night, after all. I'm in, she said. Maya and Diego turned to Travis. I can't, he said. My dad's right on the other side of the door. Your dad is Nels Reed, Diego said. The guy who got his nickname from all the women he nailed in college. That guy would want you to go out on the town. All the air suddenly went out of the room. That's not where his nickname comes from, Travis said through clenched teeth. Diego shrugged it off. All those coaches keep telling me how much you're like your dad. Maybe it's time to prove it. Chapter 6. Maya carefully stepped out of the Porsche Cayenne Turbo, making sure that her skirt didn't ride up too high as she reached for the curb. The line to get into 360 went all the way down the block and every head turned to see who was getting out of the luxury SUV. Maya felt like she was disappointing them by failing to provide a genuine star sighting. Diego slipped out from the back seat. He let out a long, how whistle when he saw the line. We are never getting in tonight. It's okay, Maya said. Travis is probably on some list. We'll be fine. Maya sounded like she knew what she was talking about, but the truth was she'd only been to one other hot spot since moving to Florida. This experience was almost as foreign to her as Diego's homeland had been. They waited on the sidewalk while Travis gave detailed instructions to the valet about the proper way to park the SUV. He wasn't normally so specific, but it wasn't exactly his car he was about to hand over to a total stranger. Travis' Mercedes Roadster was only a two-seater. The three of them had quickly realized that they would need an alternative mode of transportation after they slipped out of the formal reception unnoticed. Since Maya was careless and Diego's limo had gone off duty, not only left on one of the rides in Nails Reed's small fleets of vehicles. Quietly slipping out of the garage in a car stolen from his dad's collection was Travis' second act of rebellion that night. When Maya turned her attention back to the club, she was surprised to see the bouncer holding the velvet rope open for her. "Good evening, Miss Hart. Welcome to 360. Maya looked down at the road, then up at the bouncer. "Excuse me? Miss Lidescu is already inside," he said. "She made sure you were on the list." "Thank you." Maya stepped across the invisible line separating her from the riffraff waiting on the sidewalk. It wasn't the first time she'd gotten past a velvet rope before, but on the previous occasion she'd had Nicole King by her side. "Impressive, Maya," Diego said as he followed. "You do know how to show off for the new guy." They waited in the doorway beneath the neon 360 sign for Travis to catch up. "I figured there was a chance Rini put us on the list," Maya said. "But I didn't have to tell him who I was. He recognized me." Diego smiled. "Of course he did. Your news. I was reading about you all the way in Rio over the weekend. But I didn't even win." The fact that Maya had made news wasn't news to her. She'd seen the articles herself. She just didn't think anyone else had. "Why are you hanging out in the doorway?" Travis asked when he finally caught up to them. "Maya wanted to make sure you could get in," Diego joked, "since we're clearly not celebrities like her." "Speak for yourself." Travis took Maya's arm. "I'm the son of Nace Reed, football hero. That makes me famous by association. Able to get into clubs across this nation, so long as the owners remember my dad." Maya laughed along with Diego even though she thought that she'd heard an unusual touch of bitterness beneath the joke. She expected the type of attitude from a different Reed brother, not Travis. Brushing it aside as a figment of her imagination, Maya walked through the doorway and into an entirely different world. The club was thumping. Music pounded out of the speakers and lights danced along to the pulsing beat. Bodies filled every inch of the floor. Most were moving to the rhythm, but a few were completely out of step and didn't seem to care at all. Maya made quite an entrance, walking in on the arm of a hot guy. Sure, they were only friends, but the girls shooting her jealous looks as they watched the door didn't know that. The good feeling lasted for about a half second. Then she saw the other brother heading their way. "What's the matter?" Travis asked as she pulled away from him. He held on tighter, unaware that his brother was coming toward them. "It's okay. Friends can hang on to each other's arms. It doesn't mean anything." "No," Maya said. "It's... I thought you two had some official hosting duties tonight. Did Dad give you a get-out-of-fancy-reception-free card or something?" Jake may have been speaking to both of them, but his eyes never once looked to Maya. If only the same could be said for other eyes in the club. The death glares Maya now got from the girls scoping the entrance almost caused her to laugh out loud. If only those girls knew the truth. Maya was standing with three of the hottest guys in the club, but it was the last place she wanted to be. Travis clung even more tightly to Maya. "We skipped out early. Diego wanted to see the town. Diego? Jake asked, noticing the third wheel for the first time. You the new competition? I thought the Reed brothers played American football, Diego said. Not the real thing. Oh, we play the real thing, all right, Jake said. Not some lame version of kickball. And why do you need those helmets? To protect your herdos? Diego asked, coming chest to chest with Jake. Hey, Travis jumped in. My stylist charged $250 for this look. I have to protect my investment. The guys busted up laughing, breaking the tension. Funny how Jake could joke around with his brother, but still couldn't bring himself to look at Maya. We'll set up at the salon sometime. Jake reached for Diego's head. She could do wonders with those dark curly locks. Diego ducked out of the way. Thanks, man. Jake held out a hand. Nice to meet you, Diego. I look forward to beating you on the field of battle. Just name the sport. Poker, Diego said as they shook. That's my favorite sport. So, did you come over to buy us drinks? Nope, Jack said. Time to go. I have practice in the morning. Maya was glad that Travis had her arm. She about fell over when Jake said that he was leaving a club early because of practice. Jake finally noticed Maya. I never had the chance to congratulate you, he said, holding out a hand to her. Nice game this weekend. Maya untangled herself from Travis so she could shake Jake's hand. It was warm and inviting, with just the right amount of pressure. Thank you. Have a good practice. Thanks, he said as he left. Just like that, he left. No posturing. No strange conversation with his brother. He was polite to Maya, but remote. And it didn't seem to have anything to do with her hanging on to Travis' arm. Maya couldn't help but notice that no one was hanging on to Jake's arm. Diego put his hands on Maya's shoulders and pushed her into the crowd. Okay, Maya, he whispered yelled into her ear over the thumping music of the club. Since you already have enough guys after you, I think it's time you introduced me to some girls before I have to make my move, too. Maya laughed at the joke. At least she hoped it was a joke. He was right about that. He was already dealing with more guys than she could handle. Maya was so glad she'd blown off the reception, she didn't even care if it meant another call to Neil Reed's office. The playlist at 360 was great, the drinks were tasty, and, best of all, everyone was having a blast. She'd been most worried about that last part. Cleo was still mad at Travis for the role he played in Nicole's plan to break up Maya and Jake. It didn't matter that Cleo believed he wasn't a completely willing participant. She was angry that he would fall for one of Nicole's schemes. To be fair, Cleo was even angrier with Jake for believing it. That was the great thing about Cleo, she always had Maya's back. Renee was the most easygoing of the trio, so she'd embraced Travis as part of the group more easily than even Maya, who still had her suspicions. Renee also embraced Diego, but that had more to do with his strong biceps, sexy accent, and piercing eyes. Maya enjoyed watching Renee get her flirt on. She'd seen it before, but this show was different. Diego's skills were on par with Renee's, if not better. It was a master class in flirtation, and Maya had a front row seat. Why don't you want to dance? Renee asked Diego with a pout that implied she was waiting to be asked. I save my moves for the soccer field, he replied. Shame to waste those moves on a field full of other guys. she countered. Well, I keep some moves for more private shows, he said. Maya and Cleo both downed the last of their drinks. The master class had turned from an entertaining display to a personal moment, and it was clear they both felt they'd crossed the line from playful eavesdroppers to voyeurs. Excuse me, Cleo said, but that girl's had her eye on me all evening, and it's time I did something about it. A tall, long-haired girl with an exotic look and multiple piercings was watching Cleo. She smiled at Cleo, started toward her. Maya was glad that her friends had each found someone, but it suddenly made her being alone with her one other friend a lot more uncomfortable. Another drink? Travis asked. Maya picked the drink menu off the bar. The club specialized in crazy, colorful concoctions that blended fruit juices into works of art so much better than that mysterious purple punch at the reception. None of the drinks had alcohol, but the sugar content was so high they didn't need any liquor. Maya worked her way down the list of silly tropical names. She'd already tried a mango, melon breeze, a coconut beach combo, a sunset slammer, and a banana cabana. I'm in the mood for. Her finger slid down the list. Blue. Travis laughed. Blue it is. He flagged down the bartender and ordered a true blue Hawaii for each of them. I'm getting this. Maya reached for her purse. The drinks were expensive, but she had enough to pay for this round. Don't worry, Travis said. It's covered. Travis, if you are going to be friends, I can't let you pay for everything. How would that be fair? It wouldn't be fair, but it was more complicated than that. Travis could afford to buy a round of drinks for everyone in the club. Maya would be scrounging change out of the bottom of her bag just to pay her the two of them. Someday maybe she'd be in the position to shout "Drinks on me" to the cheers of the crowd, but today was not that day. Don't worry, Maya, Travis said. I'm not trying to impress you again. When I say it's covered, I mean that Renee opened a tab. She got everything we ordered tonight. Or her parents covered our drinks. I think she's still mad of them for missing her last swim meet. That explained why Renee had insisted on that round of sunset slammers, the drinks with the gold flecks of them. Even without liquor, the slammers were the most expensive thing on the menu. Between the five of them, Renee had already spent well over $200 of refreshments. Maya had never paid that much for a meal. It was weird to think that someday that could be the norm if she continued on the path she'd planned for herself. Thinking about that kind of future brought her mind back to Jordan's offer. Maya always knew that she'd need an agent one day. She just hadn't expected that day to come so fast. She didn't expect the drinks to come that fast either. The tall glasses full of blue, ice-blended decadence were suddenly on the bar in front of them. Travis picked them up and handed Maya her drink. To friendship, he said, raising his glass. To friendship, she agreed. The blue slushy drink was cold and smooth running down her throat. It was the tastiest drink so far. She enjoyed it so much that she had to remind herself to sip rather than chug. She might not have to worry about hangover, but she was concerned about a brain freeze. That's good. Travis pat his glass down on the bar next to Maya's. Better go slow on this, though. I was just thinking the same thing. No, you're thinking about something else, he said. Something important. You have that look in your eyes. What's on your mind? Maya wasn't sure she should tell Travis about the offer. Since Cleo had been there when Jordan made it, they'd had to tell Renee to be fair. They didn't like keeping secrets in their friendship. They'd agreed that it shouldn't go any farther than the three of them, though. They didn't want to risk Nicole finding out. Travis had more experience in this area than any of them. He didn't have an agent yet, but he'd been around his father's business stuff all his life. Then again, Travis was friends with Nicole, and Maya was afraid of this getting back to her. But if they really were going to be friends, she'd have to start out by trusting him. Okay, Maya said, more to herself than to Travis, but you can't tell anyone, not even your father. Maya, I don't tell my dad everything, he said. Maya wasn't so sure about that, but she told Travis the story about how Jordan randomly bumped into her anyway. It wasn't nearly as exciting a retelling as it had been when Renee kept jumping in with gossipy questions. It just sounded like a simple business transaction, which it probably was. That's incredible, Travis said. Dad's been pushing his agent to represent me for a while now, but he keeps pushing back. Says it's too early. I haven't even gotten an official college offer yet. That's if I decide not to go straight to the pros. So, you think I should do it? I didn't say that. Travis took a sip of his drink while he thought over her situation. It's good that you've got interest from an agent, but if there's one, there are probably others. You have to figure out who comes with the best offer. Like someone not representing the girl who wants to wipe the courts with me, or completely wipe me off the courts? Travis shook his head. A good agent keeps her clients separate. You don't have to worry about something like that with Jordan. I mean, you should be aware of it, but don't let that be the deciding factor. Maya sucked on a sliver of ice. Travis hadn't said much, but he gave her a lot to consider. The problem with talking to Cleo and Renee was that they'd both focused on the scandalous part of Nicole's agent asking to represent Maya. But Travis was right. Jordan represented several clients. Why should any of them get in the way of Maya's plans? By the time Maya finished her second blue drink, she'd forgotten all about Jordan's offer and was entirely focused on Travis. This friendship thing was fun. She didn't spend all her time worrying about impressing him or saying the right thing, or even wondering what his motivations were. She wasn't even thinking about kissing him, although his blue-tinted lips were kind of cute. Okay, maybe she was thinking a little bit about kissing him. Cleo's yell brought an abrupt end to that thought. Maya, it's almost curfew. Maya grabbed Travis' arm and looked at his watch. They only had 15 minutes to make the 10-minute drive back to campus, and in the time it would take to work their way out of the crowded club and wait in line for the wallet, and they were pushing it. We've got to go. It's okay, girls, Renee said. We're cool. I blow curfew all the time. Nobody cares. Cleo, go back to that girl on the dance floor. She looks lonely without you. Maya calmed down. Renee was right. She'd missed curfew once before and hadn't even gotten a slap on the wrist. No, Cleo insisted. We've got to go. I've not the daughter of an ambassador, the son of the school owner, the newest it boy on campus, or the up-and-coming tennis star. Curfew means something different for me. There was no anger in Cleo's accusation. She was just stating the facts. But it bothered Maya all the same. You won the Invitational, Maya reminded her. If anyone here is an up-and-coming sports star, it's you. And yet nobody's inviting me to private receptions, Cleo said. Maya relented. Okay, we should go. We can always continue our night on campus, although Cleo won't be able to bring her new friend. No worries, Cleo held up her cell phone. I got her digits. You don't really think I'll just pull a Cinderella because the clock struck curfew, do you? The girls laughed as they made their way through the club. En route to the exit, it was agreed that Diego would ride back with Renee and Cleo, leaving Maya alone with Travis and his pouty blue lips. As they exited into the cool night air, Maya wasn't surprised to find Travis' arm wrapped around her again. It felt more natural now that they were friends talking about the kinds of things she talked about with her other friends. Travis held the door open for her as she climbed into the car, waving to the cameras that flashed all around her as if she were a real celebrity.